Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Digital Media Sync. So I have been not around for the past couple of weeks. I took a little bit of time off, and one of the reasons why I took a time off is because I got my second Moderna shot. So I am vaccinated. So that's super exciting. I can see more people in person, but we are still online. And we are still doing our weekly programming, and we have a lot coming up. So I'm very excited about that. And I see we have some people watching right now. So just go ahead and put some comments in the comment section. Say hello to me. I will say hello back to you. I just wanted to give you a little bit of information before we get the program started. I am actually at Known Co-working. And Known Co-working has 3 programs, known live programs right now. So, of course, there's my program, which is Digital Media Sync, and it's every Tuesday at 8:30, and sometimes it's Wednesday, and sometimes it's supposed to be Wednesday, and I forget, and then I still make it Tuesday. Oopsies. That's an inside joke, kind of. Then we have we have Pivot Talk. So Pivot Talk is basically about, it contributes to the greater comprehension for business across all industries for adapting and building resilience through economic shifts. And last year was a huge economic shift. So we talked a lot about what people were, what businesses were doing during the pandemic. And then there is also Connection Corner. So this is really exciting because the Connection Corner is going to be coming up in just a few hours. It's coming up at 1 p.m. So what the Connection Corner is whether you're an entrepreneur, artist, dreamer, change maker in our community, then you'll want to connect with Barb Nangle, and she's the host. And we showcase members of the greater New Haven community as well as members of Known to build strong bonds, which to foster growth, opportunity, and a sense of connection. So that's the official description of that. But we're really excited because we've been featuring our knownpreneurs and the members of our first knownpreneur cohort. And I think this week is the last week of the 16-week cohort. And then, of course, we're still doing providing resources and supporting our first cohort, and then getting ready for our second cohort of entrepreneurs. So in just a few hours at 1 p.m., we are going to be introducing 3 more members of the knownpreneurs, and they are building their hospitality businesses to help people feel good from vegan food. So Perea of Vegan Ahava, love her, love Vegan Ahava. Actually, I love everybody in this group. They are just so innovative and work so hard and have just really come a long way. And then we have Personal Concierge to help you while you're on the mend. So, in hospital and that sort of thing, Simone. And then an aromatherapy product to put your mind at ease, and that's Youssef from Evalstat. So those are our entrepreneurs that we're going to be featuring. So we hope that you want to get a little bit of work done, grab some lunch, and come back to us. Today I am super excited because I'm just going to bring them on. I have one of my favorite people that I met several years ago at the Grove. Hi, Raheem.
Hi, Julia.
I didn't even, when we were talking back in the green room, I didn't even think about like how long we've known each other and been friends. Like
long time.
has it been like 10-ish years?
I think at least that, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, and and then that's scary to me because I'm like, oh, I'm old. So I'm gonna give you a proper introduction though, because not everybody knows, but everybody should. So this is Raheem Nelson, and Ra is an iPad artist. He is a fashion icon. He is an entrepreneur, as well as an artist, and he's my very good friend as well. So I want to I want to welcome you, and we want to when you had contacted me because I had said like, hey, this is what's coming up, but there's like a week where I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. And I'm always like, when there's, just contact me because
Yeah.
we'll always have something to talk about. And this was perfect, right? Because the way we met was through a co-working space, through the Grove, and we worked together and we built connections. And you were like, this is what I want to talk about using, online communications and the connections that we make in person and the connections that we make online to do business, to, get clients, get customers, and that sort of thing. And I'm like, all right, I'm for this conversation. So I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about that because that's definitely how you do your business.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
for sure. So I'm gonna give you the floor.
Okay, thank you, Julia. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I think what I want to reference first is just being an artist and how artists typically, we like to keep to ourselves. Some of us do anyway. And there's kind of like this stigma that, like I'm going to go in the studio, I'm going to get all these projects done, and then you'll see me when you see me. And I think the beautiful thing about collaboration and co-working is you don't have to work in a silo, and you can let people know how you're doing and what you have going on. And I just find sharing to be really powerful. And I think back to like when I was in my first year of college, I was making connections with the Arts Council in Greater New Haven, and I made some friends there. And then I ended up curating an art show. And then gathering some from my favorite artists together to work in a show with me and people that I hadn't met before. So I went from kind of just working on my own comic books, working on my own paintings, to just saying like, hey, like I can actually curate the work of others and help others have a platform for what's important to them. And that's one of the things that just makes me really happy too, is being able to do that and provide that for other artists.
Yeah, that's really huge. And I know that's definitely one of the things, and I don't want to skip ahead of your story.
No, it's
but
fine.
Just to reference because we were a couple of the first people who came to the Grove, and you came to the Grove and you were doing your art right there. And not only were you doing your art right there, but observing others, bringing the space of the Grove and the area around the Grove into your art as well. But then also, like, as you're talking to people and showing people your work. And I have to say that was definitely one of the things for me when I saw your work. And this story when my now almost 20-year-old was, okay, so he was like 11, 12, 13 years old when I commissioned the first piece for him. And I was like, oh no, it wasn't the commission. You had like a Batman. And I'm like, I want to purchase that.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, because he would always go around and say, I'm Bat Sam. And I was like, oh my God, would you please do this for me? Would you make, bring make him the caricature, make him the Batman. And I commissioned that piece. And that was based on the fact that you were always connecting with people. We became friends. We were always checking in and seeing what we were doing, as far as like, what's the work you're doing? What's the work that you're doing? And that sort of thing. And that's how that happened. So now tell me a little bit more about like other areas as well, because there's a lot more that you do and other ways that you connect.
Just the Grove was so impactful for my art career as a whole, and connecting with people and making things happen. And I remember I think the Grove really helped me not only establish myself as an artist, but expand my horizons and look at other services I can offer for people, like photography, and done gigs where I would do music, like I would DJ at events, like I would do DJ parties for the Grove when
Yeah.
the holiday parties were happening. So went from just thinking of myself as just an illustrator and a painter. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, I can do social media marketing, I can do photography, I can do music, and all because of the conversations that I would have with people. And I would go in for like a wind down Wednesday, for example, or a whiskey Friday, and
Right.
then just I guess like it's just like a cross pollination because like I get to find out what other people are up to, and then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, I can help this person in this area, and then they can help me. So it's like beneficial for everybody, and that's what I really love about co-working and
Yeah.
just kind of letting other people into your creative space. Like there's so much that can be gained from it. Like it's
Yeah.
just really amazing.
Um, Tell me a little bit more too about if we move into an online perspective, what that looks like. Um,
Sure.
the work that you do, and then like how like you connect with people again online and offline, and then it's just like I'm brand ambassador for this and I'm doing this.
Yeah. So especially with this pandemic, being connected with people online has been very instrumental, and just forming new connections with people, different brands, and that
Yeah.
goes into like my style page that I have. I love
Hmm.
fashion, and fashion is when I really think about it, fashion has always been a part of the art that I create, because
Yeah.
I started to look at myself as like, okay, like I'm packaging myself so that other people get me, so other people get the art that I create, and then they get the person behind it. I always wanted those two to have harmony. So it's like I've got this style page on Instagram, I've got my photography page, and I've got my art page.
I know
And
you have like many accounts.
yeah, I do. It's like those are just the three. Like it's crazy. But I've noticed that the art account really has taken off in the pandemic, and then the style account has really taken off too. And
Right.
it all started with a conversation I had with my friend Diego Leon. He goes by the name of Dandy in the Bronx on
Yeah.
Instagram and everything.
Yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
then I start following him too because of you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this ecosystem.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we had a conversation when I was in the Bronx, when restrictions were starting to ease up. And then he was just telling me about like what he liked about social media marketing, what he didn't like about it. And then he kind of instilled in me like, hey, like if you have a style page is great, but like what are you really trying to say? And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, like that's cool. Cause I kind of felt like I was enjoying doing it, but like I reached this rough patch where I was like, oh, I'm not really sure if I'm into this right now. And
Yeah.
so I just kind of reestablished an intention for myself saying I want to be able to educate people on how to dress well, give fashion tips, and then also
Yeah.
showcase what I'm doing in my day to day life. Like stuff that might not be the best fit for my art account, goes on my
Right.
style account. Where I'm talking about like weightlifting and wellness,
Yeah.
and like maybe I'll take a meeting to do some social media marketing. So just like behind the scenes and just kind of having people have a lens into what my life looks like. And then I think brands and other influencers are picking up on that because
Right.
it's genuine, and I'm getting more
Yeah.
traction that I was seeking before.
I just want to interrupt for 1 second to say that Juan is watching, and he said that he can't wait to start happy hours at noon.
Oh
So
yeah.
we have to start getting the wine and the whiskey in here, toot sweet. I just wanted to give a little shout out for that. Yeah. So your style, and you do a lot of like, you know, this is how you put the suit together, and
Yeah.
just like one, and it's like this is what you there. Here's a couple of jackets that you can wear, and that sort of thing. And I do see that, like, yeah, now it's like, oh, now Ra is like representing over here because what was it? The Thai bar.
Yeah, the
The
Thai
Thai
bar.
bar was one, like there were brands that you were like doing stuff with,
Mm-hmm.
and this is all based again on connections, and then you're working with other branding organizations as well, and other like branding professionals.
Yeah.
You know, because we've worked together. You're working together with we were just saying with we'll give a shout out to Barbara Gold as well.
Yeah.
Another one that we've met, and then but then like other organizations. So tell me a little bit about that.
Sure, definitely. So I'll start with the Thai bar because that ended up being a huge connection. The Thai bar happened just because I was kind of getting into a flow of using Twitter and
Mhm.
really mentioning brands and doing it in an organic way that wasn't like bombarding them. Like, hey, like this is what I'm working on today, and I'm styling this jacket with these pants today. Oh, and this tie is from the Thai bar, so I would tag them and I would do the hashtags. And I did it like I think I did it for a few months, and then they took notice and they
Yeah.
said like, hey, we would like to hire you to do this for us. So I ended up doing like lookbook for them, and then like they had a special collection with Jesse Tyler Ferguson, so I was
Hmm.
illustrating that as well. And it ended up just being like a nice connection to have with them, where like it's
Yeah.
flourishing, because I wear their product all the time to this day, like the ties, the socks, the tie bars, and just put it together in creative ways that speak to my aesthetic, and then I
Yeah.
just share that with social media. So I think they were really able to pick up on that, and I've had like great freelance assignments with them, and I worked in their retail store for a while in New York, and it was just really cool to like be able to go behind the brand and just
Right.
declare that I'm going to work with this company, and then it happens, because I give my word to it, and I'm going about it in a way that's beneficial for them too.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing too, right? Because you have um such an authentic manner.
Thank you.
You already have that natural sense of style, and then it's not forced.
Right.
And it's not like you can really like tell that's like, all right, I'm getting paid to do this, so let's do this and get it done.
Yeah,
But,
just float it in.
I'm looking at my imaginary watch on my imaginary arm. Time is money.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I love style and fashion. Like, I love it as much as being an illustrator, being a photographer. Like, I
Yeah.
really just look at it as another art. Like, what I've started doing again is getting back into the practice of preparing what I'm going to wear for the next day, because I really think of it like you don't know who you're going to meet. Like, I could just
Right.
go out and then meet somebody that's going to give me my next big contract or my next big collaborator, and it's just been really cool to get back into that practice, like whether it's
Yeah.
be like a pattern shirt with like a pattern tie, and then maybe I'll just do a plain suit so that the accessories are the things that stand out, or I might do like a suit that I'm wearing today which has like a lot of wild patterns, but like I'm not wearing a tie and I'm wearing a plain shirt. So like
Right.
just looking for ways to like kind of experiment, and I don't
Hmm.
want to like get into a routine where I'm wearing like the same thing every day. I want to like recycle what I have, so I'm not always like
Right.
buying new stuff, because like I probably have like 10 suits in my wardrobe now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need any more right now.
He's like, I'm good.
I am good. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about some of the, I guess, well, gosh, I mean, there's like just so much, right?
Right.
Because then if we go back to your art, you had been doing some traveling,
Mhm.
and you had also used your art to convey the stories of your travels as well.
Yeah.
Um, and not well, I mean, like you've done a lot of like storytelling because you have your comics.
Mhm.
So you make commentary based on through the comics, the stuff that you've done with traveling, and you've been speaking, or had been before the pandemic a little bit more, I think, speaking about some of those things as well. So can you touch on that?
Sure,
And then
absolutely.
how that kind of translates again into like how you convey that on social media.
Hmm. Yeah, so with the traveling, I remember it starting with it was New Haven, New York, and these two
Yeah.
places. Like one, I live in New Haven, and I went to New York for college, and some was traveling back and forth between the two places for a while. And it got to the point where like I was doing business in New Haven, I was doing business in New York, and like kind of like being in two cities at the same time. And then a friend of, well, he became a friend of mine, like a mentor as well. His name is George Colombo, and he
Hmm.
made a book of New York paintings, iPhone paintings that were like featured in the
Okay.
New Yorker and other magazines as well. So I ended up meeting him in New York, and I got the inspiration to do a book like that, but it would speak to me going back and forth between New Haven and New York City. So
Right.
I would go to New York, take reference photos, and then create paintings. And then it got to the point where I was doing the paintings live while I was there. So each
Yeah.
painting had like its own story behind it. So then I'm recording, I'm taking notes on where I am, what I'm seeing, what I'm smelling, what I'm hearing. So I can put that into the back of the book. So like when you're flipping through it, it's just the pictures. But then at the end, you get the commentary, the artist commentary. Like I
Yeah.
was in Grand Central when I painted this, and I was about to like get the last train back to New Haven, which is
Yeah.
like a common thing. It's always staying out late, always creating artwork, and then it turned into like these social events. Like I would create paintings at social events, and I would do it live, and then I started getting hired to do that, where I'm creating live
Yeah.
paintings. So it's like the book informed a lot of my career decisions, and it just ended up like being organic and like having these book signings on these created arts that I would make, and it was just so much fun. And it expanded to me going abroad. I had this massive trip where like it was London, Paris, Avignon, Barcelona, and then Portugal at the tail end of it. So
Yeah.
each of those places, I'm creating artwork to go along with whatever I was doing on that given day.
Hmm.
And I would like get up in the morning with a purpose. So, like I'm gonna go paint at the Louvre today. I'm gonna go paint at the Eiffel Tower. I'm gonna go paint, while I'm on the London Underground. So each day ended up being like this adventure, and I would like create journal entries to go along with it too, because I didn't want to forget, everything that I was painting. Like
Right.
everything
Yeah.
has this narrative to it.
And that was interesting too because I feel like we were being brought along. And I think one of my favorite things was when you would post, even much later, right? Even before, even when you came back and years, like I think you just did some stuff recently where you're like, I'm thinking back to when I went here. And
Yeah.
then you had like your painting. And then the other thing that you did too that I thought was really super cool was doing the time lapse of how in all of your painting, but like when you were traveling and everything, it was just like, here's a blank slate, or and then you're going along and we see like um how you are just moving through that particular piece of art, so that's something too, because we feel so connected to you as the artist because we're watching you actually do your work. And I hadn't completely forgotten, um, but I was just reminded again when you would do the live painting as well, because you did that
Mhm.
for oh my gosh, so many things. Citywide Open
Yeah.
Studios. I remember that
Yeah. Yeah.
again, like years ago.
Yeah.
Um, so being able to, for me and people who are like in the New Haven area and the New York area, people who can see you, it's just kind of neat to like, okay, I'm talking to you in person, I'm seeing you do your work in person, and then I'm also seeing like what it looks like to people
Mm.
who only see you online. So I guess my question would be, what what kind of response do you get? Like you get jobs,
Hmm.
you get commissions, and you get to meet other amazing people as well. What are some of the responses that you get from what you do online when people
Yes.
only see you online as opposed to in person?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do have friends that I haven't met in person yet,
Hmm.
and that's been an interesting contrast to the people that I do know personally that only know me by my work. And I
Yeah.
had somebody recently just send me an email on because I've been doing tutorial videos again, using this application called Art Rage. And
Okay.
Art Rage is an incredible app because it simulates real world painting, like
Okay.
oil painting, acrylics, watercolor, and it's just great. Like I've been using it for years, and they just had a major update to it, so I started painting with it again. It's just so liberating. So I made videos. I made a few videos just explaining how to use the program and everything.
Yep.
And somebody emailed me saying that they watched it and that they loved it and that they are looking into diving deeper into iPad painting. And they didn't necessarily say this in the email, but they were kind of like treating me like it was a privilege for me to just respond to their email. And I didn't really know what to do with it. I was like, okay, just, like, I'm glad you enjoy it. But it's just interesting how people might perceive me, the artist, the person, and I might not think of myself that way. I mean, I enjoy the work that I create, and
Right.
I'm confident, but I don't really look at myself as like this big time celebrity. But like I've gotten that before, or people will stop me in the street and be like, "Oh, I know you from Instagram, and you just posted this for the Thai bar or whatever, and your first
Right.
piece
Right.
of art." And I'm just like, "Wow, like okay, I don't really know how to feel."
Like, how do I respond to this?
Yeah,
Okay, thanks.
it's really humbling. It's really humbling that people get so much joy out of my work, and then my students as well. I've done a
Right.
lot of art classes over the years, and my students will stop me and say like, hey, like you doing this class with me was just what I needed. I was going through this, I was going through that, or I have a career in the arts that I'm working on now
Hmm.
because of what you have taught me. So like that's, I think, like the most rewarding feedback that I can get on what I do is just having a student come back to me and say that they
Right.
got something out of it.
And that's really, I think, an important thing to think about, especially when you put so much of yourself online, which people do, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, people make whole careers out of like just being online. But I think that, when you have a strong core and you have strong values, and like you said, like one of the things that you had said that resonated with me, and we've had other conversations before, which is like, I know when I get up in the morning, like what my mission is and what I'm going to be doing,
Yeah.
right? So you know who you are when you get up in the morning. um you have your mission for that day, and it
Mm-hmm.
may be something, it's like, okay, I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to do this particular thing. Like right now, you're like, I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to teach. I'm going to
Yeah.
get up every day and I'm going to make sure that in some part of my day, I'm going to be doing my art. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to get up every day and I'm already going to have my clothes laid out,
Yep.
and that's going to um, kind of like, once I put those on, it's like ready,
Yeah,
ready
exactly.
to go,
Yeah.
So you you have that, so that when you do have your kind of online persona, because you're so connected to yourself, because you're so connected to the people who are important to you, and the people who are your friends, and the people who are your group, right? Then when you have um, people coming in from online, like it's like you already have, like, it's like, okay, this is my world over here. Like I get it, and because it's interesting, because I have to say that for myself, my work is online, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And I represent, myself first and foremost, and then I also represent my clients, or I help my clients represent themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we always do start from a position of like, know yourself first.
Yeah.
Whether it's your personal brand, right? Because Raheem
Mm-hmm.
Nelson has a personal brand, Julia
Yep.
Gambale has a personal brand. Um, and then everything else you can handle.
Yeah.
because it's a lot, right? Because people will come at you both with positivity and also with, negativity
Hmm.
sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Um, so then when that's the case, um, yeah, I guess kind of speak about that too, because
Yeah. Yeah.
that would be a question, right?
That's a
Because
good
has there
question.
ever been like we're
Hmm.
gonna get a little full, because I think it really makes a difference, because um when you give of yourself so much in an online situation, and there's a lot of people that only see a piece of you,
Hmm.
right? No matter how much that is, it's only like a part of you, and you're little, it's like I'll tell people, it's like when I'm all done, I hide away,
Mm,
and I'm like in my room, door closed, two cats, some snacks, and my head literally under the covers.
yeah.
Right? Because you need to
Mhm.
have like that decompression as well. All right, I'm
Absolutely.
like, I think I asked you like five questions in there, but I
No,
guess
no,
you're
it's
asking me all.
good. It's good, good. So
Yeah,
the first one with the negative feedback,
yeah,
thankfully it's been few and far between. I think when I first started out creating iPad paintings, there was just the pushback of oh, that's not real art, and that's not oils or acrylics or blah 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 blah
right.
blah. And I just remember being one of the first ones to get into iPad painting, like especially in New Haven. I think I was the very
Yeah,
first, especially just making a name of it, making a go at it. And so my response was always like, well, look at photography versus digital photography. And the pushback goes there. And then, it got
yeah,
widely accepted. And, that, this does take a tremendous amount of skill to do what I do. And,
right.
I've gone to school for it. And, I taught myself how to kind of relearn how to paint, but, in a digital way. So,
Yeah,
like, it's a skill in itself. And, that's why I teach it, just because I know it's not easy to, just have that confidence to pick it up and go, especially if you don't have that knowledge that's rooted in
right.
traditional media. And I know some people that have gone that way too. But yeah, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of talent, and it's just something that you have to foster. So that's always what I try to do when it comes to feedback that might be negative in general. It's just kind of
Yeah,
like educate the person. Like, all right, you might not agree with me, but like this is my perspective. Like this is the
right,
way that I'm
right.
going about the way that I go about it. So there's
Hmm.
that part of it. And then the other part of it is something that I still kind of, I don't want to say struggle with, but sometimes I have to advocate for myself when it comes
Yeah.
to pricing and charging my clients. And
Oh,
I know we've had conversations like
yeah,
that
we've had
before.
that conversation. We've had that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because it's a relationship you're building with a client, and it's like, yes, I'm representing myself, but it's like you're also representing that person you're working with, and then
Right.
they might want to have like some pushback, like, hey, like, why are you charging me this,
Yeah.
like why does this come out to $300-$400? And sometimes I don't necessarily always want to break that down, like, hey, like this is my reputation, like you get what you pay for. But I
Yeah.
know that doesn't always work. I know people do want a breakdown of what they're paying for and what they're getting. So sometimes I will have clients I have to spend that extra time with them
Yeah.
and say like, okay, this is why you're getting the painting this way. You can get it this way, but it's going to charge. I'm going to have to charge you this amount of
Right.
money. And
Yeah.
then the other part of it is I have a client right now, and we're going through a lot of revisions. And I had to tell him like, hey, like this is really going to be adding up to a lot, and he was willing to pay for it, which is fine. But it got to the point, and we were working on a logo together. It got to a point where the logo was like overstuffed, and then I told him like I could keep charging you for this, but that doesn't
Right.
really have integrity on my part as an artist. So what
Yeah.
I'm gonna do is let you know, like if you want the best logo you can get, if we scale this back, it's gonna be better for you, better for
Yeah.
me, and you're gonna save some money. And he appreciated that. He appreciated that honesty, because I'm not all about just charging my clients like X
Right.
amount of dollars and just like going crazy. Like it has to be a relationship that has integrity, or else it's just not gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. No, and that, oh my goodness, yeah. And I know we've had like so many of these conversations, and people want to, yeah. have a breakdown, or like, you know, it's really, it's this amount per hours, you know. And as creatives and in marketing too, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about the hours, it's about the outcome, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm typing this in. This is gonna be a big.
Yeah, I feel like we got to do a part 2 to this. Like, I have so much.
I know.
Wish
Just
I had more time today. Oh,
it's
man.
9:05 right now, but I want to let's take this. Let's bring this around, because we talked about a lot of aspects of your work, about connection, about relationships, business relationships, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I want to, like, and I know you can do this, I want to crystallize some of these points. So at like the end of this, you know, we have this all like wrapped up in a nice time, you know, a nice little bow.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, what would you say are the takeaways, I guess, because we had quite a few takeaways about connecting, about how that turns into work, um, about how relationships work, and you know, how you're being utilized as a resource and that sort of thing, and then how we're charging. So what do you think are, like, I don't know, pick a number, 3, 2, 1, 5 things that I think that really kind of talk about, you know, like, just really kind of crystallize everything that we've been talking about.
Sure.
Besides, it's not about the hours, it's about the outcome.
Oh,
We
yeah.
can just end on there. Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. So, in closing, I will say, if I could pick 3 things. For one, creating artwork in a silo doesn't benefit anybody. There's so much to be created by looking at your community, your neighborhood, and just what you can contribute. Point number 2, what are you trying to say? What's your intention? What are you trying to say with this artwork? Who's it going to affect? Who's it going to impact? And then point number 3 is, what do you have to give back to the world? What are you going to leave as your legacy, and who you're going to inspire on the way?
Ah, that is just like such a beautiful wrap up. I mean, and it just really embodies like what I see you do as well. Like, that's why it's such a pleasure to have conversations with you.
Thank you.
And like, why I'm always like, immediately like, if you want to do a digital media sync, um, you know, let's do it. Oh, Cynthia's asking, are we able to have a creative break at Known? It was so wonderful at the Grove, people working together to make art. I would say yes. I would say yes, because I think one of the things that we're trying to do at Known, and I hope to bring people like you, Ra, and Cynthia, and we have art, you know, a couple of artists and our knownpreneurs, and also fashion designers as well. And we were talking about how, you know, in this conversation we had, and Nadine Nelson too, you know, the work that she does is so very creative, so
Yeah.
very creative. You know, having creativity and entrepreneurship, I really think, do go hand in hand. And whether it's as your actual work, because you do have to sell you work, you do have to package it, you do have to brand it,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. It's just the way it is, and you do have to have those. You do have to make connections and have relationships so that you go back, you know, to people. You're welcome, Nadine. You know that I mean it too. Um, you know, and I think having professionals in other fields and creatives um, work side by side and kind of intertwine really makes all of the work better.
Yes.
And you have shown that as well in the work that you do, you know, just from how you market yourself online.
Thank you.
Oh, Randy's asking to share links because she wants to see the art.
Okay. I gotta run, but I can.
Oh yeah. Okay, you got.
Yeah.
I know where it is. Okay, so I know where it is. He really did have to run. So I'm going to close. I want to thank everybody for coming on board today and having this conversation with us. This is going to still be on Facebook. So even after it's live, we keep it on. We don't delete the video. And it is always going to be at nhvknown.com as well. So it'll be under the Digital Media Sync tab. Also check back on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, because we are always talking about the known lives that we are having. Digital Media Sync, I'm going to be back next week. I'm actually going to be back on Wednesday. And I'm going to be talking to Rahisha Bivens, and we're going to be talking about Stop Solitary CT, and we're going to talk about social justice and nonprofits in the online world. So that is going to be really important and exciting to talk about. And then the next week, I'm going to be talking with Sharon Rosenblatt of Accessibility Partners. And again, we're going to be talking about online accessibility and accessibility on websites. And we're going to talk about when you said you.
Sorry about that.
I'm like, okay, well, that's
my phone just crapped out on me. Don't want to leave you hanging.
Bring him back on. So I was actually talking about how next week, and it is going to be Wednesday, we're going to have Rahisha on, Rahisha Bivens. So I'm like super excited about that as well. And then the next week after that, another thing that's near and dear to my heart is another Grover, Sharon Rosenblatt. We're going to be talking about online accessibility.
Cool.
So making websites compliant. Aaron, are you still on? Aaron had a question and I had missed it.
Sure.
He said, what does Raheem think about the NFT market?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's a great question. So I think it's pretty amazing. I haven't signed up for it yet. I started the process.
Okay.
But, I think what's stopping me right now is the gas fee that they have. And what that basically is it's like $200 or so that they want you to pay to create a store and everything. And that's no problem. But there's this disclaimer, it could be well over $200 or well under $200. So I'm trying to see if there's a way to, create an NFT and put it on like the marketplace without like this gas fee, because if it's like way over $200, they could charge you like $1,000, $2,000. Like,
yeah,
you don't know, and it's like
you don't know, and it's like, how do you budget for something like that?
Exactly. So just trying to be careful about when I do make that jump, because I think it's great. I think it could go someplace. Like artists are making tons of money doing it, and influence as well. Just going about it in the smart way.
Cool. All right. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Julia.
Obviously, you know that you are always welcome on Digital Media Sync. And
I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you coming on. And actually, Cynthia also said thank you for being so open and good at sharing.
Oh,
and
thank
you said, I appreciate both your work as well. So that means that she appreciates your work too.
It means a lot.
Thank you so much. I'm going to close out, and everybody have a great day. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Julia.